Hey everybody, Rodamon here. Thanks for tuning in to Oxygen Not Included. So, last episode we've made a sizable amount of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. This episode, I intend to maybe launch. It really depends on how much ceramic piping we're able to get, but I did leave off on a little bit of a cliffhanger with the regolith dump. So let's take a look here. What is it, 6? All right. So here is regolith being dropped into the magma tube. And nothing's going to happen for a very, very, very long time. So it wasn't much of a cliffhanger. So what ends up happening is the regolith, when it's dropped, will form into 25-ton stacks. And for the stacks to melt into the magma, it's going to require to heat up at its melting point. So here, let me go back and show you. The regolith is having a hard time heating up because every time it warms up, more regolith is added to the stack. And then, of course, it isn't going to melt until 2560, or let's say 2570 Fahrenheit, or, 1410 Celsius or so. But then, as it melts, magma will start to shoot up the magma tube. That's sort of how it's designed, right? So another thing I'd like to do is to try to get things vacuumed out before that happens. So we're down to micrograms and milligrams of gas there. That's going to be pretty important to wrap up. Because I would, why, if you're curious, I would like to remove these high-pressure gas vents before that time comes. But of course, the moment I remove these high-pressure gas vents, the debris of that high-pressure gas will go into the magma. So it might actually add to the magma pool. But that's okay. That might be by design. All right, so here we go. The crazy clay making into the kiln for ceramic. Pub mentioned one thing. So all of my brand new possible mechatronic engineers, they might not have the priorities to be able to build rails or the like. If I have rail projects, I will be sure to reprioritize. But at present, I don't have any rail projects that I really am worried about. So as you can see here, the oxygen is having a hard time staying a liquid, and that's because of this window tile that is cooling down the hydrogen gas. So you're always going to get a little bit that condenses here. And also, it doesn't help that I am constantly introducing new oxygen. I bet if I stopped introducing new oxygen, that it would eventually turn all to liquid. Because the window tile and the liquid itself is not actually touching one another. So we had some other issues. Other issues such as running low on hydrogen. And let me change the head yet again. Okay, so our hydrogen seems to be okay for now. I might reintroduce a little bit of hydrogen into the hydrogen chamber. And I'm just going to go for it. Oxygen into the oxygen chamber as well. Just get a little bit more liquid here. And I could keep adding liquid until this rocket is launchable. It is weird to have the leftover debris of the previous conveyors. You know, where we have these metal tiles and the temp shift plates. I really don't need to break these down. It's not like I am hurting for resources or anything like that, but just out of being, seeming clean or whatever, I will delete some. At this point, I don't really care if random regolith pops up here because we're no longer sweeping this area. And I'm also, let's delete background buildings. So in the deleting of the background buildings, all of the petroleum should disappear. And if my duplicates are working on 5 priority tasks, which currently they are, because I didn't prioritize those up any higher, it means, for whatever reason, that despite the fact that I have a ton of ceramic, literal tons, they're just not building. Alright, well, time to use my little priority to raise that up. Yeah, so as you can see, the petroleum, at least on the western one, has disappeared. Another thing I'm going to want to do is this coolant here in no way actually needs to get pumped up anymore, right? Like, it doesn't need to make that trip. So, again, something I probably don't need to do, but I will do anyway, is reroute that. What I don't really need to do it is I could just leave it. Given that I'm so close to the end of the game, it's not that much of an issue. Funny enough, this steam isn't even the right temperature. We're not producing enough heat, guys. Alright, so if we take a look at the overlay for the liquid here, for this to be properly cooled, all it needs to do, this pipe needs to just go connect to here. It's just that simple. Only this spot here needs to be cooled up in space now. All of this piping here can be removed and destroyed. It is, it's a sizable project to remove that coolant loop, but I'm going to do it anyway. Even if it is ill-advised. Alright, if we take a look at the magma, because I'm sure you're interested, we do have one stack of 25 tons. So this stack of 25 tons here will eventually heat up, and maybe by the end of this episode, or somewhere in the middle of the episode, something like that, we should indeed see the magma level rise. So as a point of reference, the magma is one tile lower than the obsidian here. And that way we'll know if it's going up or not. So the coolant is now has run out. I'm going to leave the pipes until this point. And this is going to be one heck of a deletion. Probably more work than I even want to give my duplicates, but it will also speed up the coolant because previously we had split it left and right. And with this change, we aren't splitting left and right, which will speed up the flow. So there is I guess a minor benefit. I don't know. I just feel as a completionist that it's something I want to fix. That is why I'm fixing it. I don't need a better reason than that. How is my hydrogen doing? What is that, 4? It's a thin cloud now. Okay. Well, with that in mind, let's slow this down. I don't want to run out of hydrogen, because it would brown me out. I am sure of that. Alright, so the most important break here is this one. So that the plumbing doesn't continue. So it looks to me like we've used up most of our ceramic, as we don't really have a box full of it anymore. An indicator that I'll need to manufacture more, which is fine. I had indeed intended that. Another thing I wanted to do is go to the Priorities tab and enable proximity. Enabling proximity setting tells my duplicants to always choose the closest most urgent errand to perform. When disabled, duplicants will choose between two high priorities based upon a hidden priority hierarchy instead. Enabling proximity helps cut down travel time. For large colonies such as mine, proximity might help to group similar tasks together so that the duplicants aren't running around so much. Now, this is made of thermium, so I won't need to cool it as often. Meaning that if there's a little bit of coolant downtime or lag time, which currently there is, I should be okay. Alright, so the really important things to do is build this and this. And in fact, I can just high priority it. Alright, and this is top priority. Can we reach this? Something tells me we cannot. I could also make this a little bit prettier. Okay. And I think what I'll do is I will break down the buildings here. I guess they're already broken down. So now we have a coolant loop that is much shorter and does not jump multiple times. So let's send our coolant to it. If below 100 C, go, 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 go. So all of my hydrogen is now liquid yet again. I have a little bit more hydrogen than oxygen, so I'll let the oxygen catch up. And if you wanted to see, nothing has happened over here yet. That will be a common theme. I think you should be comfortable with not much happening. All right. So for the interest of cleaning things up, let's 9 this bad boy. This is what I want my guys working on. So this auto sweeper here can... I don't know what its overheat temperature is. The melt temperature is different than the overheat temperature. But it's going to want some coolant running through it. And here it comes. So if we take a look at the temperature of this metal tile, as you can see, it is plummeting fast. Oh boy, is that plummeting. And then the temperature of the petroleum here is plummeting as well. So if you take a look at the temperatures everywhere, this auto sweeper is now, yeah, totally managed. All right, there is something else I'm going to need to do, and that is to construct another observatory, because we can't really go anywhere without one. So, or a telescope, I should say. That's what it's technically called. So I'm going to put a telescope right here. And we're going to put it on... I'll put it on insulated tile. I mean, why not? Plug it in. Because you can't... I'm not going to be able to blast off anywhere unless I can see where I'm going. And then to use it, I'm not entirely sure it needs to be piped. But in case it does, let's get that done. All right. So most of these old plumbing has been swept up. Now, of course, the material of igneous rock is mixed in with everything else where the regolith resides. But that's a problem I'm not going to really worry about. So these buildings are going to be broken down. These metal tiles, we no longer need them. But I will replace them with mesh just to protect the solar panels from getting debris landed on it. And I think the priority of working on not the hidden hierarchy, but the sort of local tasks has worked. Oh, interesting. So here, as you can see, the window tiles are creating sort of a pocket of gas because of, you know, the oxygen interacting with the window tile. And as a result, we have this really awkward distribution of liquid here. I find that incredibly strange. And I mean, it makes sense, but very, very strange. All right, so these are going to be unreachable builds unless I plastic ladder my way around. No problem. Happy to do it. All right, another thing I like to do is gantries for every refueling. Now, I do realize it is a little pointless because this is sort of... I really only intend to do one trip, but I don't know. For nicety, again, for nicety, we'll set that up. I still have a ridiculous amount of regolith to drop, and it's gonna really do some crazy things to this magma tube. Gas, how are you doing? Micrograms, 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 almost micrograms everywhere. So we're doing a pretty good job of getting rid of all of the atmosphere in there. And my gas vent is actually overpressured, the 2K gas vent. The hydrogen had a 20K and the oxygen had a 2K, and the 2K is struggling to keep up. Okay, I'm going to do a bit of water filtration. And taking a look up here, we are going to need some mesh tiles, like I said, replacing what once was the metal. My telescope doesn't have line of sight, but it does know that there is objects in space, so that is all set too. And it's been pumped up for oxygen. All right, the oxygen, it's kind of hard to measure because it's not even, but it might be outpacing my hydrogen. So let's hotkey hydrogen so I can watch it. Yeah, this cloud has replaced itself. Now, there's a lot of hydrogen that is just sort of untapped, uncaptured. Some of it is not really worth capturing because it's such a small cloud that the effort of grabbing it isn't worth doing. And that's probably true just about everywhere. There is actually a lot of hydrogen up here, though. So I'm going to grab this hydrogen. and send it into the tanks, I think that's probably worth doing. Because that's pretty high pressure hydrogen, and it's not really doing anything for me if I'm not going to use it. Alright, yeah. Because everywhere else is sort of not dense. It's just particularly dense there. And this tunnel here as well, might it be worth grabbing this hydrogen. But probably one at a time, so that I don't burn out that cable. Okay, at this point, we are waiting on gantries. I think what I'm going to do is... Oh, I can't reach that. Is stick gantries for every tier. Because why not? I'm going to set it up sort of uniformly. And let's make sure to use steel, not gold. We don't need a bunch of liquid gold. And then we'll need to run power to it. So conductive wires, again, of steel. And now we have gantries for every tier of our rocket, allowing us to change fuel more easily and to finish the plumbing. I think the plumbing is nearly done. We have a little bit more ceramic to do down here, but it's pretty close to being done, which is cool. All right. At this point, it's just a lot of sweeping stuff up that is left to do. Yeah, my oxygen is now 500 kilograms. So one important thing to note, liquid oxygen will be 500 kilograms a tile. Liquid hydrogen will be 1,000 kilograms a tile. So the amount of hydrogen I have is still a little bit more than oxygen, even though it looks like the oxygen is bigger. All right, very, very strange. I don't know why they did it that way, but it's worth noting because otherwise, you know, it would look like, yeah, you could be forgiven into being confused by that setup there. All right, so let's do a little bit of sweeping here and there. It might be worth having my plastic ladder moved, to be honest, because it's interrupted by this this transit tube crossing. But, you know, whatever. All right, hydrogen. You're going back into the tube here. Checking on my regolith. The hottest regolith I have, I think, is 18. Well, here, let me zoom out. I can't zoom out that far. Yeah, the hottest regolith I have here is 1800 Fahrenheit, and it needs to reach 2600. So, again, a little bit ways to go. What I am going to do is to disable this auto sweeper, just so that I can sort of control the amount of regolith that goes into the system. So I'm gonna let the regolith that's that is being dumped melt. Also want to priority sweep some of the things in here and not the regolith. And sort of clean up this area a bit. All right, the liquid oxygen has evened out a little bit. If you take a look at the window tiles are getting pretty chilled, and that's a good thing because now the hydrogen that's up here is also very cold. And the additional chilling effect that the aqua tuner is going to have here, we won't constantly be phase shifting because these window tiles are like heating anything up, is I guess how I should put it. All right, project pumping. Yeah, we're down to very, very, very little gas. And that is good news. No, I don't need more sand. Filtration medium is something that we have too much of. Now, are these fuel amounts? No, they are not even set at all. That's okay. So I do have the 2436 in the oxidizer tank. And then I believe it was, what, 636? So those are all the tanks with the fuel amounts set correctly. As you can see here, despite the fact that I'm pumping in more oxygen, the aqua tuner really hasn't had to run. And because there is just... the temp shift plates are cold, the oxygen itself is cold, there's a lot of volume of oxygen, so there isn't a lot of thermal aqua tuning that needs to be done to bring the oxygen to temperature. It's also because the oxygen that I'm sending is sipping. Where is most of it going? I think most of it is going into our suit docks. I could be wrong about that. That does seem to be the case. And we haven't really had a lot of gases back up for a while. How about our... oh yeah, here it goes. Now, this pump is running out of power. And I don't think it's because my batteries are browned out. It's just because I'm asking too much of this grid here. This grid is at capacity. And that's why I didn't introduce more pumps, because I knew that would be a bad thing in the long run. All right, my natural gas is doing a great job of keeping up volume-wise. Is there anything else for me to do? So if we take a look at the... yes, there's still a little bit of ceramic left, plumbing-wise. Now, I do acknowledge that the run that my... I'm actually going to redesign this a little bit to have it be shorter. The run that the liquid oxygen has to do to come back is longer. And I could shorten it up. By sort of hugging the facility. Like that. Still, it's pretty imperfect, but it is nice to demonstrate that even an imperfect run is enough. There was also a YouTube comment about the... So this is a little complex, but I should explain this. About why I'm using insulated insulation pipes. So the way it works is, in a regular pipe, 2 thermal properties are used to determine heat conduction. The material of the pipe and the elements that the pipe is exposed to. So when you have a normal pipe, like this, like let's say you have a normal pipe made of insulation. Well, here's a great, actually I could demonstrate it pretty easily. So here's a normal pipe of insulation. I'm gonna put it right here. So when it's just insulation, the pipe itself obviously doesn't allow thermal conductivity, but because it's not an insulated pipe, it will also add the thermal conductivity of the elements that it is exposed to, which is why a pipe like this, see this liquid pipe here? Its specific heat, thermal conductivity of the pipe itself is 0, but the pipe itself will eventually chill out because it is exposed to a cold environment and because it's not actually physically insulated. So it is really, really, really important to use insulated liquid pipes of insulation and to use insulated tiles of insulation, not the regular tiles. Just to give you a heads up. So if we take a look at this liquid pipe here, I'll leave it for a while, but when I check back on it after a long time, you should see that the temperature will actually decrease to match. It would be, well, this would be a lot more obvious if I set it up in Magma. Let me do that. So this is a far better demonstration because it will change temperatures a lot more quickly. So there's a regular insulated pipe, and then let's see if I can't liberate some insulation for demonstration purposes. So if I take a look at material here, yeah, we'll take this insulation there. So plumbing, there. Okay, so this pipe here. No, not the magma, the actual pipe. See, the temperature of the pipe is going up. It's made of insulation. It says it has 0 thermal conductivity, but the thing is the magma has a thermal conductivity, which is the reason why that insulation pipe is raising a temperature. Versus, here's one of insulated liquid pipe made of insulation, and this will not change temperature, even though it is a magma. So it is very, very important to know the difference. So I'm going to destroy this because I don't want my insulation heating up. But as you can see, very, very clearly, the temperature is rising. There is really no doubt about that. But this pipe here, the temperature is not moving at all. Not at all. Because insulated pipes work differently than non-insulated pipes. Actually, it went up a little bit. I don't even know why. It shouldn't have, but whatever. You do see the difference is pretty clear, I would say. Yeah, it is slowly climbing. Because probably it's not true 0. So even, I mean, hey, that's information too. If you're wondering about my regolith, I do have a regolith at about 2200, so we should see a bit of a regolith, some regolith melting soon. All right, we are down to just the last few pockets. So if we take a look here, this should just be only regolith now. It is. Okay, good. So we have almost 100 tons of regolith to melt. But the lava levels have not changed yet. Alright, the plumbing lines are done. Entirely done. Wow. It might be time to... Yeah, it might be time to, start things up. Get it all fueled up. Might be that hour. So I do want to remove this regolith from the launch pad, which means, storing the regolith that's up here somewhere. I guess what I could do is just drop that out. And now I have a new spot to haul. I'm going to maximize my storage space here. There we go. Now we can clean up the launch bays. That was a lot of regolith that had stacked up there. Alright, and I'm gonna go back to disabling this. That's enough. Oh, speaking of new printables, my water filtration. Let's let that run. Alright, we are out of clay. So I'm not going to get any more ceramic. Interesting. What about the heat? Yeah, as you can see here, the heat has wrecked the cooling that I had done, but that's pretty easy to fix. And I will work to fix it. So if I needed more clay, I could, I guess, dig for it. It's weird because I don't know how much clay there really is. I'd really have to hunt for it. As you can see, there's just not a lot of it. I'd have to go to the overlay, go to, what is it, mineral? No, it'd be consumable, it'd be organic, cultivatable soil. Yeah, it's cultivatable soil. So yeah, I mean, there's certainly clay available for me to grab, but not in like easy big clusters or whatever. Alright, we should see this heat cloud dissipate. It got hot enough that it's probably pretty uncomfortable for our duplicants to be here, which is too hot. Another thing I might be able to do, just to make it nicer, is metal blocks of gold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anywhere there's significant ugliness, I can drop some statues and pretty it up for very little cost. Trying to think of how to pretty this up. Maybe flower pots. Because I don't have enough fibers for other methods. Alright. I feel like I'm just procrastinating. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to save a backup. Because I want to refuel, but I'm not necessarily against save scumming if something goes critically wrong. I've actually never launched like this before. So here we go. Sending the fuel into the rockets. Now, for point of reference here, the hydrogen will phase change at 252.2, or actually 250.2. So negative 250.2 is the critical temperature. And I don't think we're going to have much of a problem fueling these up, to be honest. And then, as far as I know, once the fuel is in here, I don't think it changes temperature all that much. It's pretty, like, vacuum isolated chambers, which is a good thing, because then you wouldn't be able to sit on the runway or whatever. Alright, taking a look at decor. Yeah, the decor around here is much nicer now. And let's plant some mirth, I guess. Alright, the bottom engine is already fueled up. And our oxygen is going in as well. How's my hydrogen amount? Ooh, boy. Oh, boy. Alright, let's shut those off. Should have checked that sooner. I mean, all of my generators, we're not relying upon hydrogen at all for power generation. But I didn't realize I was so low. Alright, then the other thing is, this is just about done. So I'm going to deconstruct this, and you know, it's not done. There's still a little hydrogen, it's just not very efficient. Hey, we're just about all fueled up. Now, the real question is, can the hydrogen make a return trip without phase changing? It's about to phase change. So let's cut the pump. Oh boy. Yeah, in this case, we might need more insulation. Also, what's happening is the pipes themselves, physically, are warm. They will chill the more the hydrogen loops, so that it's not going to trigger phase changing of the hydrogen. But it looks like the hydrogen is making it a return trip home without phase changing on me, which is awesome. The oxygen I'm far less worried about, because the oxygen has less of a tight tolerance, you know, has a looser tolerance. So I do have some cracked piping, but I have a box of 8 tons of ceramic that I can use to make repairs. So we are all loaded up. Sine curve. I'm gonna send you. I don't see a good reason not to. Oh boy. What an undertaking. I feel like I should say something. Why does it say path blocked? Oh no, it doesn't anymore. Okay. That's it, guys. The Great Escape has been achieved. Our homeworld in this universe is gone, replaced by the skeleton of a planet and a wound in the sky. But I hold out hope that other worlds exist out there, tucked away in other dimensions. I sent my duplicate through the temporal tear, carrying that hope on their shoulders. Perhaps one day they'll find a place to call home and begin a thriving colony all their own. And both win conditions have now been met. Home Sweet Home and The Great Escape. Look at the amount of steam that put out. It actually melted some of our igneous ladders here. I didn't realize that. I mean, on the right here, it's igneous too. So if we take a look at the space map here, open star map, the Temporal Tear is not a typical mission. It is a one-way trip, and as you can see in my priorities or in my population here, I'm down to 11. I've permanently removed a member from our colony. Well, I know that might have seemed a little anticlimactic, but that's it. That is the end of Oxygen Not Included, this entire series, culminating with that Temporal Tear launch. Now, before you ask whether or not I'll be playing more Oxygen Not Included, it is worth me informing you that I play games based upon public polling. My Patreon patrons submit ideas to me, and then I put all of those ideas that they've submitted into a private poll where only Patreon patrons can vote, and they pick the top 5 or so choices, and then the top 5 choices of that private poll move to a public poll, and everybody can vote in that public poll. So ultimately, every viewer can help determine what games I play on my channel. That applies to about 20% or 80% of the games that I play on the channel. The other 20% is just games I feel like have not gotten enough attention or games that I think would be good for the channel. So, if you're wondering if I'll play Oxygen Not Included again, it is up to you, not me. It's possible that I undertake a Oxygen Not Included Space Out series, or try on a harder world, something like that. But I can't make any guarantees because, of course, it has to pass the votes. Thank you so very much for watching this incredibly long series of Oxygen Not Included. It was absolutely my pleasure to play with you guys, to learn, read your feedback, implement your projects. I'll catch you in another series. I hope something else that I stream or record catches your eye. Farewell, everybody.